Right, so we can now move on to step 12, and step 12 is much the same as step 3, which is the differential that we built. This time we're building it for the front, as you can see here. So I've got the actual differential spur gear and the little cap that you use. We need to open parts bag B because we need to get these components together. Right, for those of you who are new to building with me, what you'll see that I tend to use things like this yogurt pot and stick the little labels on. So anything that was in bag B, I've emptied into the yogurt pot so we know where everything is. And everything apart from the big items, of course. Yeah, so now let's get the components out and show you what we need to do to build these differential for the front. Right then, so let's get the components together that we need. And we need the BA8s. They're the 2x8mm screws. We need 3 of those. We need these 9mm washers, 2 of those. We need the star shaft, 1 of those. We need the large bevel gear, which is 2 of those. We need the small bevel gear, which is 3 of those. We need plenty of grease, and we need our differential spur gear, and we need the G3 component, which is a cap that goes on top. So we now need to build all this together, greasing everything up nicely, just as we did in step 3. So let's put these together. Righty, let's get started. Let's get some grease in here, because we need to make sure this is greased at the bottom. So we've got a nice lubrications along the bottom there, because the washer has got to go in. So let's get that in place, and then putting a bit of grease in the bottom, the washer will now stick, won't it? Because you can go dab and you can pick up the washer. Pop that in so it's in place, and make sure that's also greased on the top section as well. There we go. So that's now in place and greased. Right, now we need to get our large bevel gear, and we need to put some grease on the underside of this large bevel gear as well. So let's pop some grease on there as well. There we go. And give that a good smear around. Plenty on. There we go. So now the large bevel gear can go into the bottom of that. You can just wiggle that in place. Doesn't matter if you've got a bit of grease on top, because we're going to need to put grease on there anyway. So we need to pop some grease in there now on top of that bevel gear, so the large bevel gear has plenty of grease as well. So again, don't be afraid. Yeah, get in there. You're nicely lubricated. There you go. Right, so that's now in there and that is well lubricated. Now, the next thing we need to do is take our star shaft, and we need to make sure that our star shaft is greased on each one, which I'll do. So you can get your fingers in here. Nice, see, there we go. And then you need to take each of the small bevel gears, and you need to pop the small bevel gears facing inwards. Okay, so you take all 3 of those and pop them in so they're facing inwards. All right, okay, so now we've got that in place, and what we're going to do is I normally put this in place and then grease it afterwards, because we need to pop this so that it lines up, so each of the star shaft lines up like this. There we are, done. Now that's in place, let's pop some grease on that while it's in place, so we can do that. Again, plenty of grease in there. Right, you can use your little device to maneuver it around if you wish. Get it on all the nooks and crannies. It's going to spin around anyway eventually, and it'll have loads in there. As long as you've got plenty in there, it'll be fine. Right, so So now you've got your small bevel gear and your star shaft into place. Then what we need to do, we need to take our large bevel gear again, put plenty of grease on so it's nicely greased up, and we're going to pop this now face down on top of the small bevel gears. So let's get that in place. There we are. So nicely greased, and there's plenty of grease already in there as well. So you're going to place that down and then just work it into place so you can feel it gets the actual teeth together. And you'll know if it's in place or not, because it'll sit. There we go, that's better. We need to then make sure that this section around is greased as well. So I'm just using the remaining bit of the grease that's on here. We then take our 9mm washer and place that on top, like so. A little bit more grease around that 9mm washer. As you can see, plenty in there. And last but not least, we need to put the cap on. So cap with these little tangs will go down where the slots are, and the holes will line up with the holes. Simple as that. So as long as the holes line up, everything will line up, goes into place. There you are. So that's now in place. We can slightly move our grease out of the way so we've got a bit more working room. And then we take our 2x8mm screws and we're going to screw this closed. So pop each one of those in there, like so. There we are. And then what we're going to do, get this screw closed so it's done. So I'll just put all of those so they've got some bite so they don't fall out as I screw them through. There we go. So that's now got some bite, and then just screw them home. Nice and gentle. And you don't go too mad again. Please just feel it with your fingertips. And then that's it. That's all you need to do. There we are. Fingertip tight. Don't have to go mad. There we are. So now you have your differential gear all completed. Don't worry about any little bits of grease that's hanging out there. That's all going to go inside a gearbox anyway. There you are. Step 12 is completed.